Oh hey, how's it going? So you might be wondering why it's taken me 7 months to make another video. And the answer is, I don't know, I didn't really feel like it. So to tide you over while I continue to work on my next big review, I decided that I'd take a couple short hours and re-edit together 3 videos from my past. These videos were 3 years old. Most of what I say in them I don't agree with now, and most of the content is very bad and very dumb. I didn't write a script, so you'll just hear me repeat phrases over and over. But hopefully I made it slightly more watchable. Enjoy.
Time for the moment you've been waiting for.
Finally, I have made the famed DCEU video that I have been pretending I was going to make for months. The DCEU is DC's attempt at scrapping a universe together after their first attempt didn't even get off the ground, their second attempt completely bombed at the box office, and their third attempt was just a meh. Let's just get into this. There's not much to say beforehand other than the fact that I am a Marvel guy, but I also think Batman is the bestest superhero ever, so there. Anyway, I watched all of the DCEU movies and made this video to try to figure out why they all went so wrong. So let's just dive right in, shall we?
Tell me.
What's 9 plus 10?
So there's this time in the distant past, after Wonder Woman had come out and Justice League was right around the corner, might have even come out, when people were like, oh yeah, Man of Steel's like the best DCEU movie, oh yeah. Okay, now that we are more sensible people who've actually seen what DC can do when they actually try to make a good movie, yeah, this movie is really bad. Okay, maybe not that bad. It is semi-competent, but has 3 really bad problems that make this movie nearly unwatchable. First, the cinematography,
and so on and so forth.
I don't know if you've ever watched a Zack Snyder movie, but there is lots of slow-mo, and there are lots of shots that are meant to be super cool, man.
Shut the up.
But something that Zack Snyder really wanted to put in this movie, which I don't really remember being in many of his other DC entries, was shaky cam and super zoom. What I mean by that is that this entire movie is filmed like it was on a handycam, which is honestly the most headache-inducing thing I've ever had to sit through. After about 20 minutes, which is just the intro to the movie, your head's spinning.
And I just can't stop.
Because you've been watching space people fly on dinosaurs while the camera shakes like mad. Not to mention the fact that while you're watching all of this cool space stuff happen, which isn't that cool by the way, it's zooming in like it's a person on Earth filming it. Whoever thought this was a good idea? Second thing is Superman himself. Superman is not Superman in this movie. Anyone who thinks that Superman is just this stoic, super serious person obviously does not know who Superman is. And it's so sad that this is what people think Superman is. Because it's not. Superman is this really chill guy. He saves people, but it's his human vulnerabilities that usually are the cause of problems. Oh, not in this movie. The one connection he has to this planet, and the one thing that he thinks makes this world worth saving, is Lois Lane. And they've got like 3 scenes together, and one of them is this one. Super romantic, right? Another thing that this movie really has a problem with is its pacing. Because oh my god, this movie is 2.5 hours long, and it really feels it. Because you watch movies like Blade Runner or the original
Star Wars.
or, other movies like that are just 2 hours long, and they feel like they get so much done in the 2 hours, you just don't realize how much time is passing. So what happens in the 2.5 hours of Man of Steel? Well, there are 20 minutes of people fighting dinosaurs in space for no concernable reason. You know how you do a Superman intro?
Here is your minion. He will take care of you. And here is your big key. You are destined for... I didn't quite hear that last part, but it sounded important. Destined for what?
Megamind did a better intro to Superman than a big budget Hollywood movie. But again, Megamind is like an actual movie with thought put into it, so I guess that's probably why. After that, we have about an hour where I don't even know what happens. Superman does some random things like saving a ship that's exploding or stealing people's clothes. Then he finds this spaceship in Antarctica. How'd he get to Antarctica? Who knows? More stuff like that happens for the next hour. I guess it's okay. But then Zod shows up. Now, Zod is one of the only bright spots of this movie because he's honestly a very entertaining bad guy. He is very well acted. It's just interesting, you know. Heresy. When he shows up, we then get an hour of Superman fighting Zod. An hour. That's too much, guys. That's not how you pace a movie. The next hour, we just watch Superman do things Superman wouldn't do. And that's where we come to the ending of this movie, which Superman decides that he's just gonna smash Zod into buildings, which, for the record, he almost freaking causes the apocalypse. Like, this is apocalyptic. But what are you doing, Superman? So, he kills a bunch of people in the technical way, and then he proceeds to put Zod in this bank where Zod is slowly moving his laser beam eyes over to the peoples, and Superman, instead of just moving his head to the side, decides he has to snap his neck. Like, I don't understand the logic here. Your choice is to snap his neck, which is definitely harder than just moving his head. As you can see, I've only scratched the surface of my thoughts on Man of Steel, and I could probably keep going about all of the stupid stuff in this movie. But somehow this is one of the better movies on this list. The fact that I have to say that is just so sad.
What is this? It's a meme, Batman. I don't understand.
So in 2016, while everyone was watching Civil War, Batman v Superman came out, and no one really watched that movie. I watched the extended edition of this movie, which was 3 hours long, mind you, and I'm not sure what the added extras were. I'm serious, what did they add? Because this movie still makes no sense. Let me just do a rundown of the plot for you. So, Superman is in Afghanistan, and so is Lois Lane, and they're like interviewing people, and Superman decides that he's gonna kill some people. And he tries to pretend that he didn't kill those people. I guess they were trying to say he killed the Americans over there, but I mean, does it matter? Like, he still killed people. So the whole movie, Lois Lane and Superman are trying to defend the fact that Superman killed people, which he killed people. We watched it happen. So the main crisis of this movie is the fact that Superman kills people, and Batman don't like that. And Batman kills people, and Superman don't like that. Which, neither of these superheroes should be killing people. That's just not how they roll. This is something that a lot of big Batman fans like me have brought up. Batman doesn't kill or use guns, something that he does both of in this movie. I don't care that that one gun scene is a dream. Batman doesn't use guns. So anyway, there's this weird guy named Lex Luthor that likes Jolly Ranchers because product placement, and he decides that he needs to stop Superman and do something bad to Superman. He figures out that kryptonite is bad for Kryptonians, and that's when he decides he wants to kill Superman. But instead of him killing Superman, he decides he needs to have Batman and Superman fight. So I don't even know what he does. I think they were gonna fight anyway. So they fight, and yeah. You might be noticing that I took out the beginning, which honestly, I can somewhat excuse the beginning of the movie. There are some dumb things in it, but at least Batman is saving people. Not as Batman, of course, because that would mean Batman was saving people, but as Bruce Wayne, he's at least saving people. That's a little nice. So, Superman, of course, is still not Superman. He kills people and tries to claim he doesn't, and whenever someone gets hurt or a building explodes, just leaves? Superman, what are you doing, man? Why aren't you helping these people?
Heresy.
The whole point of this movie is that Batman and Superman fight, and the problem is that these two people either had one movie or no movie, and they don't know each other until this movie. This is the fundamental problem with this series, which I will get into more detail as we go along. This movie prefers events to characters. Instead of developing Superman or Batman into fleshed out characters, they decide to let them fight right at the beginning, which doesn't make any sense given who this man is. This is Superman, the guy that wants to get along with everyone. And you make him fight the most important character to Superman. Batman and Superman are one of the most dynamic duos in Justice League history, and you have them fight immediately. Usually when you have them fight in the comics or anything else, you would build that up to be the emotional climax of a saga. So, I don't know what to think. Lex Luthor is so stupid, and everything about him is stupid. Because, of course, instead of just being a bad guy that wants to just pit them together, no, for some reason he comes up with the idea of making Zod into a big monster, which of course, we can't just have the two main heroes fight as our climax, we have to have a giant CGI monster battle. Because of course we do, which I will get into that when we get to Wonder Woman. Oh boy, we'll get into the CG in these movies. And of course, we have to talk about one of the best scenes in the entire movie. The Martha scene is so dumb on every level that it is insane. How in the world do you write a scene like this? How in the world did the writers not write this immediately and go,
Well, that's garbage.
But no, it gets into the final cut of the movie. So, Superman is about to get beat up by Batman because Batman's got a kryptonite spear. And then Superman goes,
You're letting him kill Martha. Martha.
And that seems to make Batman totally forget that this is Superman who kills people.
Martha. My mommy's name is Martha, too.
So, this movie, a big thumbs down.
What, we some kind of Suicide Squad?
This is literally the hardest segment of this video to make because trying to explain why this movie is so bad is like trying to explain the brilliance of Spirited Away. You just can't. But I guess I will try. First, let's get something out of the way that I think is really annoying. Licensed music. Don't you just love licensed music, especially when it's one of your favorite freaking songs of all time?
Oh hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
The fact that they wasted Bohemian Rhapsody on Joker breaking Harley Quinn out of prison is just an insult to Queen. Actually, it's an insult to music. There's like a song every single minute at the beginning of this movie. Another thing that's very annoying is the fact that Will Smith is in this movie, and of course he isn't given anything to do. They don't even let him just be Will Smith. They have to try to make him into a supervillain, even though Will Smith is too nice of a guy to be a supervillain. Like, he can't even act like a supervillain because he's just such a nice guy.
Uh-oh, Richard! Oh, wow! Wow! Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
So that's it? What, we some kind of Suicide Squad?
Another thing that is very annoying is Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I do like her in some of the later movies, but this version of Harley Quinn just freaking sucks. She's annoying, she doesn't have a single good line, she's just so dumb.
There is something you could do for me, doctor.
Anything, I mean, yeah. Love your perfume. What is that, the stench of death?
Now to get into the meat of this, the writing is terrible. This movie tries to do what other really smart, well-written movies do, which is where you give everyone all the details they need to figure something out and let them figure it out on their own. Just watch that one episode of Community with the Duncan experiment or whatever, and you'll see what I mean. But this movie decides that they want to do that, except take out the part where we give you all the details. Instead, we'll just give you random stuff. So the main plot of this movie is that a sorceress takes over a woman's body and tries to reunite her and her brother and take over the world using these weird alien things. Honestly, that's not the most complicated thing in the world. But This movie makes it seem like you're trying to piece together a conspiracy. This movie gives you some of the worst exposition ever. Not only is it really badly paced, not only is it really boring, but it isn't even good exposition. It doesn't even tell you the things you freaking need to know. I literally had to look up all of those details I just showed you. Other than the part about there being a sorcerer. That's the only thing I really knew. I still don't know what these weird bubbly people are. Who knows what those are? This movie is so dumb. For the first quarter of a movie, I was entertained.
It's got a little bit of biscotti in there. Toenails. Rat shit. Everything a grown fella needs like you.
It was so laughably bad, it was insane. The editing is atrocious. As someone who does a lot of editing, I know what good editing looks like.
Wait a minute.
Good editing looks like a Wes Anderson movie. He just consistently makes well-edited things. Even for stop motion stuff. But this movie, just like, all of the weird colors, all of the really strange cuts, all of the really weird cinematography, it's just too much, at least for the first quarter of it. Then it decides it's gonna just be a really long D&D dungeon crawl, except not one of those cool ones with lots of traps and lots of neat rooms with cool stuff in them. Just one of those ones where you're just walking through the woods and monsters just kind of jump out at you. It's really boring. All of the superheroes have the worst powers. Like, there's a man that can shoot fire. That's the coolest power we've got. We've got Captain Boomerang. We have Crazy Lady. We have Man Who Can Climb Everything. There is Sword Lady. There is Crocodile Man.
I'm beautiful.
I just can't with this movie. This movie is amazingly terrible. So this movie, at the very end, decides to have a scene that people think is really good. And it's that dumb freaking bar scene. Like, what do people see in this scene? This scene is just as dumb as the rest of the movie. There is not a single deep or intricate thought that is put into this scene. Honestly, most of the stuff they put in this scene just came out of freaking nowhere. Where was the subplot about Killer Croc coming to terms with how ugly he is and just thinking he is beautiful? Oh, it isn't there, but they pretend it was there the whole time.
I'm beautiful.
This movie decided to put it in the movie just because, it just wanted to, just for the lulz. Trying to make the movie really deep and introspective without putting in the work. Jared Leto as Joker is an absolute pile of trash. Jared Leto as Joker is terrible because there is no direction with his character. He does crazy things for no reason. Joker doesn't do crazy things for no reason. The reason is usually to say something to Batman without just downright telling. Joker usually has a method to his madness, and it is up to the reader or the watcher to figure out what that method is. But yeah, Joker just what does he do? Sit in circles of knives? I don't even remember what he does in this movie. To completely emphasize everything I've just said, this movie decides to use the Suicide Squad to do this mission, which isn't even really a suicidal mission. No one even frickin' dies. But they choose to use the Suicide Squad despite the fact that Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and the Flash all exist in this universe. The Flash is in this fricking movie. He's right there. And yet they still choose to use the Suicide Squad over the freaking Justice League. I'm not even going to try to figure out why. At least in the Suicide Squad, the reason is because it is a suicidal mission and they cannot afford to lose the Justice League. Anyway, this is terrible, and like I say with all too many movies now, this movie was okay until the end. Doesn't that sound familiar? Wonder Woman is a movie that I didn't think would be as entertaining as it was. It had some fun characters, Chris Pine did a good job, Gal Gadot actually is kind of the perfect Wonder Woman. The fish out of water plotline is way overused, but it's okay in this movie, because at least it's not Thor.
Just drink, I like it.
The fact that it's set in World War I makes this movie seem even more like Captain America than it already is. which kind of sucks. It's amazing how these DCEU movies, no matter what they do, cannot exist without somehow being a comparison to a Marvel movie. For example, Batman v Superman is basically the same movie as Captain America Civil War, except, you know, without like 8 years of build-up, or good characters, or... Actually, wait, why are they similar again? Oh yes, the cover of the movie. Sorry about that. But Wonder Woman had some good stuff. I thought the action was pretty cool. I thought that scene where she's walking through the battlefield is really cool. Actually, that whole battlefield fight sequence is pretty cool. I feel like DC choreography is just kind of overall better than Marvel choreography. Which is kind of true. Marvel is just 99% people jumping at each other and smashing each other. These movies have, you know, actual fighting in them. So that's pretty cool. There's these two really dumb bad guys for the first hour and a half of the movie. They're called Dr. Poison, and I don't even know what this guy's name is. Knockoff Hitler is supposed to be Ares, who is the main bad guy of the film, who Wonder Woman's trying to kill with sword.
Bruh, look at this dude. Wait till you see the... No.
I know I skipped over this whole chunk of the movie, but I don't really care. It's not that important, to be honest. But there's a twist villain. The twist villain is actually this man who has no evil tendencies and has nothing to indicate that he is evil.
Bet you didn't expect him to be the bad guy.
What's his name again?
Johnson Smith.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's really cool.
I'm serious. I rewatched some of the scenes with him after figuring out that he was evil. There's nothing to indicate him being evil in any way at all. Other than, I guess, like, he doesn't want them to do a certain thing, but that was actually a pretty smart decision by him. Anyway, we find out that this man is Ares, even though he's kind of a dork, and we find out that Wonder Woman was the god killer all along, which I totally didn't see coming at all. But honestly, it's a pretty good twist, and it's a much better twist than the twist villain. They should have just left Knockoff Hitler and Dr. Poison as the main two bad guys, because 3 is too many bad guys. So, there's a big climactic final battle that literally got some of the worst CG I've ever seen in a movie. That's not even a joke. Oh wait, yes it is.
Ah, look at the top of his head!
But actually, the CG is so bad. So Wonder Woman almost kills Dr. Poison, but she is a burnt person. She gets away scot-free, even though she tried to kill a bunch of people. Where is the logic here? Please, Wonder Woman, make sense. I do kind of like the theme that evil can't be stopped if just one big bad guy is stopped, because honestly, that's a really neat thing to tell people. It's just not developed very well, and it could have actually, you know, had more relevance outside of just the one scene.
You don't think I wish I could tell you that it was one bad guy to blame? It's not!
It's brilliant, 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 I tell you! Genius, I say!
Chris Pine sacrifices himself until the next movie, and yeah, basically Wonder Woman. I don't have much else to say. I actually probably couldn't even make a video longer than this about it because it's just such a meh movie, which somehow makes it probably the highest on this list.
Just one last question for all of you guys. What do you hope that the fans walk away feeling when they go and see the Justice League? If you want to just go down the line quick.
I want them to want to see Justice League too.
This movie and its remake are two movies that I actually did not watch to do this. I watched every other movie, mainly because the only other one I'd watched was actually great, so I was very delighted to. But I didn't want to rewatch these. You know why? Because they are the definition of disappointment. I, as someone who does not read Justice League comics, even I know how disappointing this must have been. Because movies are the way you introduce comic book characters to the general audience. That is why people thought Thor sucked for a while. The way that you are introduced in a movie is the way people will see you as a whole. And they did a terrible job with Justice League. Let me just remind you before we get into this, that this is
fun, happy,
enjoy,
fun, enjoyment,
enjoy fun.
I think a real sign of how bad this movie was going to be was the fact that Joss Whedon's name is right next to... Great job, man. Like, that is so weak. This movie was obviously rushed out. and it is so bad because of it. If this movie had had more time to be developed and, you know, the characters to get character, I just think it would have been better. Also, like, you know, a little more meat on that really skimpy 2-hour runtime probably could have been a little better, but whatever. So, there are 5, I guess technically 6 main characters in the Justice League. There's Wonder Woman, who is a pretty good character and the only likable character in this movie. There's also Batman, who I don't even really remember what he does. He just says lines that were supposed to be funny. And there's also Flash, who is somewhat likable, but he just gets really annoying after a while. Aquaman is a piece of crap. Cyborg literally doesn't even, do anything. And then Superman is back for some reason. We'll explain that in a minute. But first, let's just say that Joss Whedon's style of filmmaking does not fit the overall DCEU like it does the MCU. The DCEU was built to be a lot darker, a little scarier. It's honestly got its own flair, and if it had stuck with that the whole way through, it would have been a lot better. Now, yes, James Gunn's movie is 100% the best movie in the DCEU, and we'll get to that later, but I really think if it had stuck to that really dark tone, it could have been really great, but it didn't, and now we're kind of screwed on that. Anyway, so this movie is about the Justice League trying to stop Steppenwolf, not the rock band, this monstrosity, from taking over the world using mother boxes that are never really explained. They are better explained in the Snyder Cut, but I still don't totally understand what they are. For a while I thought when people would tell me they don't understand mother boxes, I'd be like, what do you mean they take over the world? But how do they take over the world? That is the real question. But I guess it's like a code or something, like a formula, something, I don't know. The questions keep on them. Steppenwolf is a terrible character, he has nothing to do, and he just talks about his mother. It's amazing how the DC people thought that this was going to warrant a sequel. It's kind of funny to me. Wonder Woman and Batman get together, the crew. They have to convince Aquaman because for some reason he doesn't want to join them, unexplained. Flash just joins immediately, without any hesitation, also unexplained. Cyborg, he's like, nah, and then he just shows up at some point. They save some people in an abandoned place, and they escape beneath the sewer, and then they go and they try to resurrect Superman, which, again, just shows how bad of an idea it was to kill Superman in the last movie. They just kind of undid it in the next one. It's kind of like if Thanos snapped in Infinity War. No one thought that was a good idea, and then he just immediately got snapped back during Avengers Endgame, instead of there being a 5-year gap. This movie 100% craps on the ending. The ending is like how not to do a movie. It's funny how I compliment movies like Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back and movies like that for having an ending that is either A, not good, or B, has an ending where basically everything goes wrong. This movie literally just has them come up with a plan and they just follow through that plan without any problems at all. And that's really boring. Superman is just kind of a bad idea because the only way to make a Superman story work is by taking Superman out of the equation. Because Superman is just too powerful for anything to be a threat. Yep, this movie's trash. I could go on longer, but I'd actually have to write a full script instead of just a short one. So I'm not sure what to think about Aquaman. Because on one hand, this movie is so badly written, has such bad effects like 90% of the time, has such a ridiculous concept, and yet, I really enjoyed myself. Now don't get me wrong, 99% of the actors in this movie don't do a good job. They didn't let William Dafoe be William Dafoe, and that makes me mad. Because if just one time he could have pretended to be Green Goblin, or at least like anti-Green Goblin, that'd be cool. But no, that we can't do that. Jason Momoa, though, honestly, is the new Rock, and I couldn't be happier because Jason Momoa does a phenomenal job.
Permission to come aboard.
Every single thing he said, especially when it was ridiculous, was hysterical. I'm actually kind of excited for the next Aquaman because as long as they just keep writing it bad and making Jason Momoa be awesome, I'm gonna enjoy that movie a lot. There were lots of very bad shots. I thought 99% of the shots where the hair was flowing underwater were just weird. I thought there were some really weird lighting choices, like that one scene where they're having a trial and it's just turned on contrast to 100%. It was very hard to look at, and it just really looked weird with the people that were obviously in front of the green screen. Yes, I thought some of the visuals were really impressive, and I thought it was way ahead of its time, but I think it was a little ambitious. I don't think this movie would look amazing even now. I thought some of the set designs were really neat, and some of them were really bad, and I thought some of the costuming was really neat, and some of it was also really bad. The action scenes are really cool. That octopus on the drums is also really cool. I don't even know what else to say. It was a pretty enjoyably silly movie. Boba Fett's in this movie.
He's like a little man.
Shazam is really cool, you guys. This is not a perfect movie, but for a while, this was 100% the best DC movie. I think the idea of a kid that gets superpowers and becomes an adult is honestly kind of fun, and it is a really entertaining gag. Yes, there's an hour of this movie that is kind of just like kids doing adult things because laughs, but oh my god, is it totally creative and is it so funny. The villain is actual garbage, but it's okay because there is a cameo from Weird Worm Guy, and honestly it was worth it for that. I thought the ending was kind of lame, except for the fact that all the family got superpowers. That was cool. But the bad guy just kind of drags this movie down, because this movie would be okay without a bad guy. Maybe it's just about Shazam trying to stop these big evil monsters and realizing that there's more to superheroing than just flying around in a cape. That would have been really neat. Not every superhero movie needs a bad guy. Shazam has lots of funny stuff. It's got lots of really charming stuff. I think the best character was this kid, because he just said so much funny random stuff.
It gets real Game of Thrones around here. Dude, just messing around.
Yeah, another movie that I don't have much to say about because it's really not that bad. It's honestly a lot of fun, and anyone can enjoy it despite its flaws.
I like his idea of ironically saying, "You go, girl." You go, girl. You go, girl.
So I just watched Birds of Prey, and I don't have much to say about it. It was just a really fun time. I enjoyed myself a lot more than I thought I would, because I didn't really like Harley Quinn in either of the other two movies. But you know what? The solo Harley Quinn movie actually works, because when you put Harley Quinn kind of by herself, or at least make her the center of attention, and she's with people that are also kind of nuts, then it doesn't seem as strange. Ewan McGregor might have given the best performance he's ever done. I'm actually really mad that his character died in this movie, because I would have loved to see this dude in more DC movies, because he is absolutely nuts. This movie is for some reason rated R, and I really cannot for the life of me figure out why, because it's not that bad. It's a PG-13 movie with a couple of more gory bits. Most of the other characters don't get lots of fleshing out, but enough that you know who they are and you know their personality. I like that it wasn't overly long. It didn't have any parts of the movie where I thought nothing was happening. It was a really nice, cohesive, well-told story. I like that it was told a little bit out of order. It was kind of a neat twist. Honestly, I don't really have any problems with this movie. Just a solid movie. And honestly, if you like Harley Quinn, or just like weird, crazy crap, then you'll probably really like this movie. Wonder Woman 84 kind of sucks, which is kind of counterintuitive to the fact that the first Wonder Woman had a lot of studio interference, the normal stuff, and it still turned out pretty good, other than like the last 20 minutes of the movie. But Patty got full directorial freedom, which usually would mean that the movie would be great. Look at Suicide Squad and The Suicide Squad. We'll get to how good the Suicide Squad is later, but the original Suicide Squad sucks because it's kind of a Frankenstein mess of a movie. But the new one is great because James Gunn got to do whatever the frick he wanted. And it is awesome. Anyway, let's get into what I don't like about this movie. There are two villains. One is the best part of the movie. One, I don't even remember the name of. Pedro Pascal's character, which I'm not even sure he has a name. script. He's just Pedro Pascal. Either way, Pedro Pascal's character is probably the best part of this movie. He gives such an insane performance. There's so much energy to it, and while the writing isn't great, honestly, this character would have been fantastic in another movie. It's just kind of sad that it got bogged down by all of the frickin' stupid Wonder Woman crap.
What it deserves you.
Anyway, this movie is aggressively boring, and I really can't understand why. Because honestly, in theory, this story should be really energetic and fast-paced. It's a race against time to stop wishes from destroying the world. It doesn't make much sense. We'll get into that in a minute. The other bad guy, I don't even remember the frickin' name of, but she's this dork that gets turned into Wonder Woman and then gets turned into a cheetah. I don't know why. So there's this new plot device to end all plot devices that Patty Jenkins came up with that is called the Wish Stone. It's the 7th Infinity Stone. It's the Wish Stone. It's a stone that is able to grant any wish, but it takes something in return, kind of like a monkey's paw or some dumb crap. The Wish Stone literally allows the plot to do whatever it wants. Oh, you need to get from this spot to this spot. Oh, let's just use the Wish Stone. And honestly, the Wish Stone is never fully explained. Like, there are certain people that don't seem to lose anything. Like, what can you lose from asking for a car? There's a point in this movie, probably around the hour and 30-minute mark, where suddenly the world descends into chaos. For no reason. Like, there's no reason that getting your wish of a Corvette or, like, an improvement to your house should make the world end. And yet, suddenly, it's Armageddon.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
All of the charisma between Wonder Woman and Chris Pine is completely gone in this movie. It's like they just sucked the charisma away. They don't feel even like they're supposed to be the same characters. They just feel like empty shells of their characters in the first one. The story doesn't make much sense. So the big bad guy villain wants to take over the world for unknown reasons. I guess to like make his son proud of him or some crap. Don't ask me. Patty Jenkins decided not to add character to her characters. Anyway, so the main bad guy wants to take over the world, and he decides that the way to do that is to wish to take over the world. But instead of just wishing to take over the world when he gets the Wish Stone, you know, like what a normal person would do, you know, he decides to wish to be the Wish Stone.
Lady the Platypus, what are you doing down here?
That's a waste of a wish. Why not just carry the Wish Stone around with you? It literally has the same effect on the story if he just carries the Wish Stone around with him. There's a lot of really bad looking sets and CGI and green screen. It just looks strange. There's a lot of really dumb action. I still don't understand how you can write a movie with so many plot holes while having the single most insane plot device ever invented. How in the world did this lady on the black market find the Wish Stone and not know it was the Wish Stone? Like, you have to look for it and know what it is, but I don't know. What about the lasso of truth makes it able to make people do things for you? It's not a mind control thing. There's lots of times where Diana just decides to have new superpowers. Now she can fly and turn things invisible. That's new. Why didn't you do that in Justice League or Batman v Superman? Huh? Why not? I feel like they've completely given up on Batman and Superman, because I want you to think about it. The last time that they've been in the movie was the Snyder Cut, and that was a remake of a movie that happened 4 years ago, which happened to be the last time they were in a movie. Anyway, the Snyder Cut.
Reshoot it, redo it, and reuse it, retool it, abuse it, dispute it.
The Snyder Cut is honestly not that good, guys. It's just in comparison to the original Justice League that it looks that good. It's just eh. It is honestly just a remake of that movie, just with a couple things better. One, the design of Steppenwolf is honestly pretty freaking cool in this one. I'm not gonna lie. I really don't understand how in all these other movies the VFX looks so bad. And this one just got, $30 million more dollars. Just 30. That's not even that much as far as these movies go. And yet it looks this good. It actually looks pretty phenomenal considering it only got $30 million to clean up the effects and shoot 2 more hours of footage. It's not bad. They got rid of the Superman's mustache, which is pretty nice.
but doesn't need you.
And they actually gave Steppenwolf a bit of a character. He wants the mother boxes and he wants to destroy the world because then he'll be able to go back to his home. There's lots of sequel bait in this movie that'll never happen because according to the DC officials, this is not an official part of the DCEU. But I'm including it anyway because I watched all 4 hours of this movie. And that is the biggest problem with this movie. It's 4 hours long. That is way longer than it needs to be. Just cut out everything with Lois Lane. Lois Lane is already a boring as frick character. You don't need her in this movie. Just get rid of her. You don't need her. Also, take out all of the slow-mo shots that aren't in the cyborg scene. 99% of the slow-mo shots in this movie are completely unnecessary. Yes, that scene at the end that I'm not going to spoil because it's just worth skipping to the end, it's pretty freaking insane. I don't know why they cut that out of the original Justice League. That doesn't excuse the fact this movie's still pretty crap. Superman's better in this movie, but he's still not great. Flash is really creepy, actually. He's kind of a pervert in this movie, and it's really weird because he was almost the best part of the last movie. Batman is exactly the same. Wonder Woman is also basically the same. I guess she does a little more, and we know why she knows about the mother boxes, but we didn't need to know that. For some reason, this movie is kind of episodical. Don't ask me why. It just kind of is how it is. I don't know, this movie just isn't worth it. There's a lot of really useless crap. I guess that they improved the final battle. I don't even know why it was rated R. It was barely more gory, and every time it was gory, you could barely tell there was gore. I'm not sure what to think about this movie. I guess if you really wanted me to, I could do a video where I completely compare Justice League and the Snyder Cut, but it's not even that good of a movie, so it's not even worth it. Moving on. Okay, you knew this is probably going to be the best one, and you already know because I said it earlier in the video. But yeah, this is 100% the best DCEU movie. Even though this is so tonally distinct from the rest of the series, I don't really care. This is a James Gunn movie at its core, and it's so amazing to see James Gunn just do whatever the frick he wants. This isn't a perfect movie. There's a pretty slow midsection, but the characters are so likable and entertaining while still being very much terrible people that it was so much fun. This movie is a blast from beginning to end, despite the fact that it has a bit of a pacing problem and one of the villains is completely useless. I don't even remember this guy's name and he literally does nothing. But one of its villains is 100% one of the best villains in superhero movie history. Starro the Conqueror is such a freaking epic idea. Who came up with this? That person deserves a gold star. My favorite character, like a lot of people, is of course King Shark, aka Nanale. I liked him so much that I was debating whether I should change my profile picture from Peter B. Parker to Nanale. He just wants some friends. John Cena, honestly, this is the role that he was meant to play. When I found out that one of the characters in this movie, that's just a random character that no one knows about, was getting an HBO Max show, I was like, that's dumb. But then I watched this movie and was like, yo, this dude deserves a show right now. Every single scene where it's him versus Idris Elba is so smart. I like the idea that it's a Suicide Squad movie and people actually die in it. Like, why did no one die in the first movie? Oh yeah, because there are big name actors and they wanted them in the full movie. That opening scene where a bunch of supervillains die that you 100% thought because of the trailer would be main characters is so perfect. Because it sets up the idea that, yup, people are gonna die. But I like that some of the characters made it out. Because, you know, about half of them died. The fact that there is a character in this movie called Polka Dot Man and that he might be one of the best characters is honestly insane. The entire idea of Polka Dot Man doesn't make much sense. The fact that it exists and is in a DC movie is honestly insane. This movie is a riot and it knows it. There are a lot of these cool title cards that show up that are kind of like comic book chapters and it just enhances the experience. There's so much more I didn't talk about, but I don't think I need to. Just go watch it. The real reason I'm making this is to really figure out how the DCEU went wrong. How such well-beloved, well-known characters could be in movies and not be good movies. I mean, it's Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. How hard is it to make a good movie? It really boils down to two things: character and structure. Let's start with structure first because it kind of plays into character as well. The structure of this franchise was originally going to be event movies first and then do the character movies second. Now, if that sounds counterintuitive, it does to me too, but I can't really judge whether or not that would have worked because it didn't happen. But even still, only 3 of the main 6 characters in Justice League got movies before they were in Justice League. Now, out of the 6 Avengers, only 4 of those people got movies. But Batman's movie was a team-up movie. It was a crossover event. I don't even think that counts. Also, Wonder Woman was in Batman v Superman before she got a movie. This whole franchise kind of feels like it's in the wrong order. Batman v Superman is in a spot where it is the second movie in the franchise. And a versus movie shouldn't be the second movie in a franchise. But Batman and Superman have had no screen time together as of yet. They've had nothing to make us think that they would be enemies. And yet they're already in a versus movie before we even really know either of them. Not to mention the fact that most of these movies don't really do a good job of giving us their character. Superman literally has no personality in these movies, and it really shows because he's really bland. Batman also literally doesn't even act like Batman, something I probably will mention in another video at some point. Wonder Woman is the only character that I think is really a good character, and even then, she can't carry this franchise. I guess now they're starting to move towards different characters for this series, and I guess it's starting to work. Shazam was good, Aquaman was kind of crap, but in a good way. Birds of Prey really got Harley Quinn into the spotlight, and I think she'll probably be a really good main character for this series. So maybe they can pull this together.
Thanks for watching. I really only made this to feel like I was actually making content while I spend forever on my next long video, which, by the way, won't even be half as long as the Star Wars one, so don't get your hopes up on another feature-length video. If you watched all the way to the end, I guess you're like a sociopath or something. I don't know. You probably get that checked out. But like and subscribe because I've got another fun and actually kind of good video on the way and a couple more planned out for the future. So, see you then, I guess.